Hey guys, this is Sammy from Not Your Average Globe. Excuse my appearance, I'm going through it. My hair is a mess because I got some serious bedhead going on. I got a giant ass pimple on my forehead. It's a thing. I switched sunscreens because I was trying to find a new sunblock and it broke my skin out, so like my skin is recovering. But anywho, I want to talk about astrology, okay, because I hear often, especially in the area that I live in, because I live in the Bible Belt, and people around here tend to think that astrology is all like woo-woo and like demonic or something. I hear a lot. People say, oh, I don't believe in astrology because I'm a Taurus and my best friend Ashley's a Taurus and we're nothing alike, blah, 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 blah. 90% of the time it's because they've never looked up their birth chart. Probably 99% of the time it's because they never looked up their birth chart, therefore they don't understand astrology. Because you're not just your sun or your star sign, depending on what you call it. You have an entire chart that makes up different aspects of how you think, how you communicate, how you love, how you approach work, all of that. I personally adore astrology. I love it. I love studying it because it's a good way of like checking in with your psyche and doing some like deep emotional work. Now, do I believe that astrology makes up your personality? No, I actually don't. I don't at all. I believe in the whole nature versus nurture thing. I think that astrology can be very accurate when you understand it in all of its ins and outs. But I'm not an astrology expert by any means. I don't understand all the houses and degrees and all that crap. That gets a little too mathy for me. But the more I study about astrology, the more I'm able to take a good hard look at myself and work on parts of myself and grow and develop and become a better, more well-rounded human. Examples of this is something as simple as looking at your moon sign in astrology. And if you haven't looked up your chart, you can simply Google birth chart calculator and put in the time and location of your birth and it'll calculate your whole chart for you, okay? So don't ask me, how do I get my chart? Or will you look at my chart? No. Do it yourself, okay? But one of the things that blew my mind, and it's one of the reasons I started down my healing journey, and this is going to be extremely vulnerable for me, okay? I'm being just honest and transparent here. One of the reasons I started truly working on myself is I looked at my kids' birth charts and I saw their moon signs and how I contributed to them negatively. And I was like, oh, no, we're not doing this. Because you can actually see patterns of abuse and neglect and everything else within your birth chart. And both of my biological daughters had moon signs that indicated a turbulent childhood. I also have a moon sign that indicates a turbulent childhood. So mine is in Capricorn. A moon in Capricorn can indicate an absent parent, an emotionally neglectful parent, or a downright narcissistic parent. My dad wasn't in my life. My mom had me as a teenager. She had me at 16. And well, she wasn't very emotionally vulnerable. So I had a pretty emotionally closed off parent and then a completely out of the picture parent. That created a lot of in me, right? So then my oldest daughter, Gigi, she had her moon in Pisces, which indicates a very emotionally turbulent and emotionally unstable mother. That's me. So I had to sit there and look at myself and go, oh shit, you know? I had extreme postpartum depression when Gigi was a baby. I was put in a mental hospital because I was suicidal. I also, her father and I had a very unhealthy relationship. So the constantly being gaslit and emotionally abused and stuff made me incredibly emotionally unstable. And throughout the earlier years of Gianna's childhood, I would be very hot and cold and very emotionally turbulent, and she heard a lot of fussing and fighting, and then I would cry and stuff a lot. And because I was so emotionally immature at that stage in my life, I would oftentimes go to her room as a child and just hold her and just sob and almost use her as like a security blanket when she was little. That's incredibly unhealthy, right? And then my daughter Nova was born. She's about to be 4. She was born and she had an Aries moon. Aries moons are kids who grow up in a very aggressive or spontaneous or not very secure home. Once again, I was with their dad. It was in a very abusive and turbulent relationship. There was a lot of breaking up, getting back together, a lot of fussing and arguing, and just a lot of crap. So astrology, when I saw their birth charts and I really started to understand the moon sign, helped me to go, oh, this is a really unhealthy and toxic pattern. I don't want that life for myself, and I damn sure don't want to be the reason my kids are fucked up. When my girls were little, they grew up in a very, very toxic house. I myself was toxic. Their dad was either not there because he was constantly working, or there was a lot of screaming and fighting and yelling. And I had to realize that, in a way, my parents are the reason that I was fucked up, but the pattern had to stop, right? So when they were little, I believed in spanking. I believed in grounding. I would yell. I was abusive. Like, if I'm just being honest, I was an abusive parent, and not intentionally. I didn't hate my kids. I didn't resent my kids. I wasn't purposely trying to harm them. It was patterns engraved into me because of the way that I was brought up and societal norms, because I am a white woman in the South, in a very, I live in the Bible Belt, so corporal punishment is still normal in schools. Like, teachers and principals can paddle your kids here. The churches normalize like submissive wives, so a lot of times husbands around here just get away with being more aggressive and more like demeaning and this, that, and the other. So I'm breaking patterns, right? But that did not come naturally to me. When the girls were little, they both got spankings. There was times I was incredibly emotionally abusive. Instead of, I'm sorry, mommy lost her temper, and taking ownership of my emotions. When they were small, I would be like, look what you made me do. If you just listened, then I wouldn't act that way. But now that I've realized how horrible that is, I now take ownership for my emotions, and I don't spank anymore. I try to just communicate when I do lose my shit, because I'm not perfect and I'm not completely healed. I will look at them and be like, I'm sorry, you did not deserve that. And I'm slowly but surely breaking those patterns. This video is incredibly vulnerable, and I hope it doesn't make you think less of me, but the point of my channel is not to be like exalted, and I never want you guys to think that I'm perfect, or that I even think that I'm perfect. The whole point of my channel is that I'm very much so on a journey of growth and self-discovery and development and in bettering myself and healing. And it very much so is a journey, and I am far, far from perfect. But I just wanted to talk to you guys about that today, because that's something that it changed my life for the better. And that's just one aspect of astrology. I mean, you can look at your Saturn and what house it is, and then you can figure out which your Saturn return, which comes around about every 30 years. It's between like 28 and 31. Your Saturn will return, and your whole life will flip around that time where it's like you go through like a midlife crisis. Your Saturn return is the astrology midlife crisis. But if you look at your Saturn placements in your chart, you can see what the lesson is you'll be learning through that midlife crisis. Your rising sign in astrology is who you're meant to in this lifetime, if you believe in reincarnation. It's your lesson in this lifetime. Your astrology is who you're supposed to be rising into. For example, my daughter Gianna is a Cancer sun. It's a very people-pleasing sign, right? But her rising is in Leo. Very, very opposite, very different dynamic. I'm a Taurus sun, right? A very calm, cool, and collective and easygoing, pretty chill person, kind of likes to stick to the shadows. Nobody ever really thinks of a Taurus as a very like intelligent sign. They're not stupid by any means, but a lot of people, you don't associate Taurus with intelligence by any means, right? You don't really associate Taurus with like socialization and stuff either, right? But my rising, what I'm supposed to be learning in this lifetime, what I'm supposed to be leveling up and growing into is a Gemini. Geminis are they get a bad name, but Geminis are a beautiful sign because they're multifaceted. They're not two-faced, they're multifaceted. And their purpose is to bridge people together because they understand the duality. And that is exactly what I'm doing on my channel. I am building a space where people can relate, people of all cultures, all ethnicities, every background, every life experience can come together and go, I want to grow, I want to heal. And instead of focusing on all of our difference, I have a talent through my verbal communication and stuff, which is a very Gemini trait, to bridge that gap. You know, you could be a Black man who grew up in a very like scientific house and didn't have a religious upbringing at all, right? A lot of people would be like, okay, so this is a white woman who grew up in a highly religious house. They have nothing in common. And my purpose in this lifetime through my rising sign, my Gemini rising, is to be able to bridge that gap. Instead of othering people and going, oh, we're not the same, I can look at that person and find a similarity. That is one of my giftings. So if you didn't believe in astrology and you're finding this video, I highly encourage you to study it a little bit because it's actually beautiful and very transformative. And it has a lot to do with why I do what I do. Once again, I love you guys. I hope you don't judge me for being honest, but I wanted to get real with you and also ignore my parents. Good God, I'm about to take a shower and do a face mask and do some self-care because this needs a little work. But I love you guys and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.